Hello, SBK. Give me 1 second. I'm talking to someone very, very special. You want to say hi? I don't think they can hear you. You don't. You are special. I was actually finna read some pages of this book. Amanda gave me an idea today, and I want to see how I sound reading a book. Okay, everybody can hear you, by the way. Scorpio Mama. Oh yeah, Scorpio Mama. If you're listening, okay. I told you I got the box. All right. Yeah, Barack Obama read this book during his presidency. So wait, no, was it during his presidency or he read it over the summer after his presidency? This was one of the books that I chose. There's another book that I gotta buy too. So I was like, I'm gonna try to read this really quick. But I know I'm gonna see how I sound because I'm a little special, you know. All right, y'all. So the hubby walked away. All right, so everybody. Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay. So, um, former president, okay, former president, Barack Obama, y'all know, okay. Um, I looked at his reading list, last year, and I bought this book, and I bought another book too, from his list, but I chose this one. It's called The God of the Woods. I like the cover. Okay, because it has like a pink dripping. I'll take a picture of it and put it on my community wall, or I could just show y'all, but I don't feel like it because I don't want y'all to see. Okay, my stuff. All right. So this book is by Liz Moore. Okay, it is New York Times bestselling author of Long Bright River. Okay, so I'm gonna read. Okay, first of all, I want y'all to know something. Okay. Um, I used to be a really good reader, okay, in school. A long, 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 long time ago. In fact, I think they tell all children, I think they tell all of our parents that we are good readers, okay? But in the past I have enjoyed reading. Nowadays, I be reading Bibles and other people's Bibles and doing rabbit hole research, that I probably just shouldn't be doing. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I get bored and I need something to entertain myself. Otherwise, I am a danger to society. Okay. All right. Now that's just a rumor. That's not true. Now listen. So, all right. Um, this book, uh, wait a minute. I read what this book was about a long time ago, but I know that this book is about family. Okay, so I remember that much. Okay, so I'm gonna read the back of the book. Okay, and it says, "Praise for the God of the woods." Okay, all right, and then it says, people are just giving their you know opinions on why they think this book is so great. Okay. So somebody named Paula Hawkins said a rare gem, an immersive and enthralling literary thriller, a novel about love in the aftermath of tragedy and about families of the very best and the worst kind. Okay? So I'm gonna take my time, okay, because sometimes my brain is a little faster than my eyeballs because guess what? Um, I stopped reading a long, 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 long. And honestly, y'all, reading is good for you. My daughter loves to read. I encourage her to read. Sometimes she stays up past her bedtime to read, and I sometimes I let her. I'm not gonna lie. Um, if you're as young and old as I am, you can start back reading. I was told that once you start misspelling words, and stuff, that means, you're forgetting uh, how to spell, so you should start reading again. And I want to say, I forgot who told me that, but so yeah, so it's like, sometimes I read articles, but it's like, I like books. And then I want y'all to hear something. I like hardcover books. Hardcover. My mother used to go to the library because she is a reader, and she would get me books, hardcover books. And I'm actually on the hunt for a book that I used to read when I was a kid, because that book was just like really, you know, um, it was a good book. Okay. All right. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm nervous. I'm gonna try this, and then and why am I gonna try this? I don't know. I mean, I don't really have anything else to do. Okay. I really want to just leave YouTube and never come back, but some people seem to think I have it in me to be a content creator. Okay. I believe I'm just sent. um I don't know, y'all. We'll talk about that another day. Okay, so first page. All right. So like I said, I'm gonna read one page. All right. It starts off, okay, so this is chapter one, Louise, August 1975. Okay. All right, and it says the bed is empty. Louise the counselor, 23, short-limbed, rasp voice, jolly, stands barefoot on the warm, rough planks of the cabin, called balsam, and processes the absence of a body in the lower bunk by the door. Later on, the 10 seconds that pass between sight and and inference will serve to her as evidence that time is a human construct, that it can slow or accelerate in the presence of emotion, of chemicals in the blood. The bed is empty. The cabin's single flashlight, the absence of which is used even in daylight to indicate that campers have gone to the latrines, is it in its home on a shelf by the door. Hmm. Louise turns slowly in a circle, naming the girls she can see: Melissa, Jennifer, Michelle, Amy, Caroline, Tracy, Kim. 8 campers, 9 beds. She counts and counts again. At last, when she can no longer defer it, she lets one name bob to the surface of her mind: Barbara. The empty bed is Barbara's. She closes her eyes. She imagines herself returning for the rest of her life to the place and this moment. A lonely time traveler, a ghost haunting the cabin called Balsam, willing a body to appear where there is none. Willing the girl herself, Barbara, to walk through the door, to say she has been in the washroom, to say she forgot the rule about taking the flashlight, to apologize disarmingly as she has done before. But Louise knows that Barbara won't do any of these things. She senses for reasons she can't quite articulate that Barbara is gone. Hmm. Have y'all ever had a moment like that where you know it's like you kind of I've had a moment like that where I've had a moment like that. Not when somebody disappears, but you can feel it deep in your gut when you're never going to speak to a person again. Or yeah, that's just what that reminded me of. Like Have y'all had a moment like that? It's like you think to yourself like, oh, it's just this or it's just that, but you know, okay? Like she said, like, mm-mm. The girl is gone, y'all. The chick, she gone, okay? So it says, all of the campers, Louise thinks, all the campers to go missing. At 6 a.m., Louise walks back through a curtain into the space she shares with Annabelle, the counselor in training. She's 17, a ballet dancer from Chevy Chase, Maryland. Annabelle Southworth is closer in age to the campers than she is to Louise, but she stands straight up and infuses her words with irony and in general works to ensure that everyone recognizes the firm line between 13 and 17, a line made manifest by the plywood partition that separates the main part of the cabin from the counselor's corner. Now Louise shakes her awake. Now Annabelle squints, crooks an elbow over her eyes dramatically, sinks back into sleep. Louise is becoming aware of something. The smell of a, a metabolized beer. She has assumed it was coming from her own body, from her own skin and mouth. She certainly drank enough last night to feel the effects this morning. The campers were drunk, y'all. This would have been a good scary movie, okay? But standing over Annabelle, she wonders where the smell in fact has been coming from Annabelle's side of the room, okay? Which concerns her. Annabelle, Louise whispers. In her tone, she suddenly recognizes the sound of her own mother. And in some ways, she feels like her mother, her bad mother, her irresponsible mother, in relation to this girl. Annabelle opens her eyes. She sits up and winces immediately. She meets Louise's gaze, and her eyes widen. Her face becomes pale. I'm gonna be sick, she says, too loudly. Louise shushes her, grabs at the first vessel she can reach. An empty bag of potato chips on the floor. Annabelle lunges for the bag, retches, then raises her head, panting, groaning lowly. Annabelle, Louise says, are you hungover? Annabelle shakes her head, scared. She had to tell the truth, y'all. She's drunk. Y'all, this would have been a good scary movie. She says, I think I, she says, and again, Louise shushes her, sitting down on the girl's bed this time, counting to 5 in her mind, the way she has done since she was a small child, training herself not to react. Have y'all been in a position like that when you're worried and a little anxious? Okay, and you got to tell yourself, don't react. Don't react because you're going to make things worse if you react. Okay, been there. I do that a lot with my kids too. Like when I'm nervous or scared about something, um, I try to act really normal. But y'all want to know something? Even if um my kid my kids know, I'm gonna say when I'm quiet and I'm sad because KJ and Gemma especially, y'all, they'll walk up and just hug me. And it's like, oh, mommy needed that hug. But, I usually cry when nobody's looking. Okay. But she says, okay, so then it says, Annabelle's chin is trembling. I think I ate something bad, she whispers. Did you go out last night? Says Louise. Annabelle. Annabelle watches her, calculating. This is important, says Louise. Normally she has patience for her. It says CITSs. Okay. So I'm going to say sits. All right, y'all, or sights. I'm not sure why they would just, but anyway, y'all, listen. All right. She is practiced in guiding them through their first hangovers. I didn't go to summer camp, so I don't know what a CITS is. Okay. Y'all want to tell me what it is in the chat? All right. Doesn't mind when they indulge a little on a night off. As head counselor this year, she generally turns a blind eye to behavior she deems harmless, partakes in it herself when the moment feels right, but she otherwise runs a tight ship. Earlier this summer, the first counselor to fail to wake up on time after a night of carousing was banned from the next several parties, and that seemed to set enough of an example that no one has repeated the mistake. Hmm. Until now, because last night, while Louise went out, it was Annabelle's turn to be on duty, and Annabelle apparently wasn't. Louise closes her eyes, runs through the events of last evening. There was a dance in the community room, the end of a session dance, which all campers, counselors, and I'm going to say sites were required to attend. She recalls noticing at a certain point that Annabelle seemed to be absent. She couldn't set eyes on her anyway, but Louise is certain that she was back by the end of the dance because at 11 p.m., when Louise did a quick head count, Annabelle was there along with 9 campers, yes, 9, who waved to Louise sweetly as they said good night. So, y'all, KJ is in the living room with me, okay? And I'm gonna read one more. I'm gonna read this last paragraph, y'all, and then I'm gonna go. And then y'all tell me in the comments how y'all think about me reading this book. You want to read? Huh? No? Why not? Why not? Want me to read you a bedtime story? Oh yeah? Oh, you gonna listen? Okay, so now, come on. No, I'm not giving you the remote. You're gonna listen to this bedtime story. Okay. I looked it up, and it could be a counselor in training. Okay. So is it sight or sit? Okay, you ready? Okay. So it says because at 11 p.m. when Louise did a quick head count, KJ, you can't talk and I'm reading. Don't look at me like that. You can't talk and I'm reading. Can you ask your dad for help? No? Why not? Give here. Why you don't want to ask your daddy? Because what? Because he's so mean. Is he mean or does he mean what he say and say what he means? And he not like mommy who says one thing and then does another. Yeah. Well, that's because once again, you can get over on me, but you can't get over on him. So that's why you don't like asking him stuff. Don't look. It's the truth. Okay. This is the season of me telling the truth. Hold on, y'all. Uh-huh. I love you too. I'll be there in a minute. Okay, so then, all right. So we left off that Louise is certain that Annabelle, well, not Annabelle, but Barbara, okay, was back by the end of the dance, or was it Annabelle? Who was? Okay, yeah. So it was Annabelle who was back by the end of the dance. Okay. Hey, Senna. Hey, Nestos, Miss Wanda, SBK. Okay, I didn't say hi to y'all, but hey, y'all, hey, y'all, hey. Okay, so listen. So it says because at 11 p.m. when Louise did a quick head count, okay, Annabelle was there along with 9 campers. Yes, 9 campers who waved to Louise sweetly as they said goodnight. She can still see the back of them walking in little clusters toward Balsam. This was the last time she saw them. Louise, assured that Annabelle was in charge, went off on her own. Next time she tries to picture the campers' beds as she tiptoed into the cabin at the end of the night, well after crew, this would have been at what, 2 in the morning? Three images return return to her in fragments. Okay. Melissa R's open mouth. Army what? Melissa R's open mouth, Amy's arm hanging down toward the floor. But Barbara herself is nowhere among these memories, nor is the absence of Barbara. Okay? So, yeah. Okay, so I actually read, we'll say, 2 whole pages. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to be honest. I think that I should do exactly what I did with the Bible. Okay, read ahead. Okay, I might have to read before I do another live like this because I think I kind of like this. And then Amanda was like, "You should do the voices." I think I can do this. Okay, I think I can do this. She says, "You're doing really good with the story. I'll come back and listen to the replay. I'm going to sleep." Okay, Miss Wanda. Good night, honey. You have a nice day at work tomorrow. All right. So y'all tell me in the comments what you think when you catch the replay. Okay. Um, do y'all think I should read some books every now and then at night? Because y'all know I do be up at night. And I also want to remind y'all too, okay, about Proverbs. All right. So what? KJ, I'm not gonna do this with you. Hold on, y'all. So, um, really quick, let me tell y'all what I learned in church today, okay? Because y'all know I've been on a whole warpath, and but there has been something that's been bothering me. And today in church, my pastor confirmed with me that everything that is bad in the Bible when it pertains to character and things like that isn't always necessarily a bad thing, right? So long story short, y'all know what the book of Proverbs says. Is it Proverbs that says that? Okay, or is it Ezekiel? Let me see. Hold on. Because sometimes I forget who said what. I believe it is in Proverbs chapter 4. Yes, it is in Proverbs where, okay, so it says, okay, it talks about mischief, okay, wicked people, okay. I want y'all to listen to this, right? And then I'm going to take y'all to Genesis, okay? So just stay with me for a second. Okay, it says, now, mind you, this in chapter 4, okay. Okay, so 10 through, I'm just going to make my point, okay? Y'all got y'all Bibles, all right? So it talks about wicked people, right? Okay, so I'm going to start at 14 in Proverbs chapter 4. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. For they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. Okay? Now, I have been up, okay? And I do mean up the last couple of weeks. Okay. And I would be thinking to myself, why in the world am I up? Okay. The wicked, there is no rest for the wicked. I'm not doing anything wicked. I don't, sit around and pray on people's downfall. I was just overthinking, 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 over freaking thinking, because I know that there is no rest for the weary and the wicked. Now, I can't remember where the weary scripture part, but it's like I'm not worried about anything. I'm not, worn the heck out about anything, but that's actually not true. So today in church, okay, chapter 32, hold on, y'all. Okay, my oldest child was checking my last child, and I really can't come in between that because she's the oldest and she runs things around here. Okay, so chapter 32, verses, we're going to start at verse 24. This is what I learned in church today, okay? And it says, and Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. Okay? So my pastor talked about how Jacob was left alone and he was wrestling with an angel. And what does it say, y'all? Hold on. I'm not wrestling with angels, okay? Don't. No, that's not where I'm going with this. Okay. It says, and Jacob was left alone, and there okay, wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. Okay. So my pastor goes, if he wrestled with, a man, which was an angel, until the break of day, what does that mean? And the church said, including myself, he was up all night. You up all night long wrestling with an angel. Now, if y'all remember this story, okay, Jacob, all right, the angel like broke his hip, he just did a bunch of stuff to try to get Jacob to, get up off of him, right? And none of those things happened, okay? Because um Jacob sent up, I had to get them up out of here. They were a troll. Because Jacob he just wouldn't let go, okay? He wanted a blessing. He wouldn't let the angel go until he blessed them or whatever. And I'm not saying whatever. I just want y'all to understand where I'm going with or what. So the message was, that sometimes we're gonna wrestle with God. Okay. We're gonna have things that happen in our lives that's gonna have us, wrestling with God. And I'm thinking that sounds really bad, And so my pastor said, a lot of times, we make jokes and say, I ain't gonna fight with God. My arms are too short, you know. But he was saying that in your spiritual journey, on your well, actually, what he said is on your Christian journey, okay? Because I was in church and they use the word Christian. He said on your Christian journey, you're gonna have things happen where you're gonna be like, why me, God? Okay, and sometimes you're reaping what you sown, and he just gave a really good message, and he told me to hold on, don't let go, okay. And funny enough, okay, some things have been bothering me, like for real. No, I haven't really addressed them because, I try to act like I'm not bothered, but I stay up all night because I'm worried. Because, there's no, rest for, you know, the weary and the wicked. And I'm like, Lord, I'm not out here, doing this. I'm not out here doing that. Why am I up? What am I worried about? What am I, um, and I just kind of have the thought, but then it's like, I'm not worried about anything. Everything is normal. And I just realized that, I worry. And when you're worried about something, you're supposed, when they say when you're up all night, you should be talking to God. And I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I have not been talking to our Father about anything. Because, I feel like, I got it. It's not that big. Things and that are not that big of a deal. But the truth is, some things are a big deal and we can't handle it on our own. And we can distract ourselves with a bunch of bull crap, or even convince ourselves that we're okay. And, sometimes we have to admit to the Father that we're not, maybe not other people, but just to the Father that we are not okay. And he said, some people wrestle with God and they give up on God. He said we get mad at people at church and we'll take it out on God. We'll get mad at our spouse and we'll take it out on God. And it was like, I have certain different issues and I'm over here wrestling with God trying to figure out, well, why, well, why, well, why? And well, maybe he's not listening or maybe he don't care, or maybe I deserve, or, I just kind of been in my own head. But when he told me, don't let go, it was like, you know what? You're right. Because I'm not going to say I've been wanting to let go, but I've definitely been thinking about, a few things that's like, I told somebody a couple months ago, I said, look, before I like started going to church and people would like try to preach the gospel to me, I would literally think to myself, well, we're all going to hell anyway, so what's the point? And, you know, what if I told y'all the devil has been like having me think like that? Like, and that's why earlier this morning, I was like, I'm taking my power back and I have to remember that I've been set free. Because when you stop praying, when you stop praying, you know, things happen. And, I'm gonna be honest to say I really didn't recognize it, but that message today in church, it was like, you know what, you know, I get it. Okay. I just gotta start back praying, keep holding on to the hem of his garment and not, give up. Okay. Like nobody said that believing in God was going to be easy. Nobody said there, every day the sun was going to shine, but you just have to remember that the sun is going to shine every day when you know Jesus. Okay. You can be having the worst day of your life and the sun can be bright and shining. Okay. And that's all I wanted to tell y'all. Okay. So, you know, if you're up at night, okay, like me, sometimes, and I don't know why I'm telling y'all this. I need y'all to pray for me, okay? Pray that I talk to God more and not myself, and that I don't convince myself that God isn't listening to me anymore because I rolled my eyes at somebody. Like, I need y'all to pray for me because y'all, I'm going through it, okay? Like, all jokes aside, and I usually don't ask people for prayer, because I think it's weird, to ask people for spiritual help. But, I know that there are people who are really, praying for me and they really do love and care for me. But seriously, y'all pray for me because, I've been convincing myself and I've been letting the enemy convince me of some things that I just should not be convinced of. And, I let my guard down I've stopped praying. You know what I'm saying? I've just kind of been doing my own thing, and you know, I'm taking accountability and saying, I'm gonna pray more, and I just ask y'all to pray for me, okay? Like for real, because the devil has gotten busy, okay? And I let him. All right. I thought I could do some things and not do some things. And I guess I can honestly say I took my armor off, y'all. I really did. I put my sword down. I got comfortable. And if you know um what it's like, to like when you start going to church and you start praying and then you stop. You are vulnerable spiritually and you will start to be spiritually attacked. Like I said, I've been over here convincing myself, okay, that I can do this completely by myself and, you know, I'm not gonna say I don't need God, but it's like, yo, I don't need to be all God, God, God all the time. And that's not good. Okay. All right. So, all right, don't let go. Hang on to the hem of the garment. Okay. Like for real, y'all. I feel like my pinky and my thumb are just like hanging on to it. Like, have y'all ever like had y'all remember like tug of war? Okay. So thank you, Senna. But yeah, I thought I just wanted to share that with y'all because it was like, you know what? So I read, and I was like, I've been over here thinking, I'm just like a horrible, because I'm gonna tell y'all something, okay? Bible says, the wicked can only sleep if they cause somebody to fall. And I cussed a couple people out the other day, y'all, and I still couldn't sleep, okay, at night. So I'm not wicked. All right. I'm not getting no sleep around here. I am worried, okay? And I know what I'm worried about. And just pray for me, okay? All right. All right, y'all. Love you, Senna. Okay. I pray with my mom. We will pray for you. Thank you, Senna girl. I love y'all. Okay. And that's another thing. I need to start back praying with my mother. I've been like keeping her at an arm's length distance. Because like I said, y'all, I sometimes I just convince myself I don't need all of this support because I'm a big girl. But you know what's crazy? I clinged to a lot of people in the past, that weren't good for me. And now I want to keep everybody that is good for me at a distance. So, just pray for me, y'all. Pray for my healing, okay? Pray for, the renewal of my mind, all right? Pray that, I don't um cut people off, distance, break up with people um that are actually good for me, okay? Because I am liable to do that, okay? To just be like, I want to be completely by myself, all right? But I'm gonna go, y'all, because KJ is falling asleep. I'm rubbing his back so he can go to sleep. And I'm gonna talk to my hubby and see how his work day is, y'all. I am making a chicken soup, a slow cooker chicken soup that I put in. So tomorrow, that's what we're gonna eat. Yes, we had. I know, y'all. I eat a lot of chicken, but guess what? Okay, when dude decided to take all the stamps away, all right, I prepared. I have plenty of chicken and rice and cornbread, all right, and beans, all right, green beans, red beans, black eyed beans. All right, all right. It's nothing like a mother's prayer. I will surely pray for you. Thank you, Sana. I love you, boo. All right, y'all. Bye. Hit the like button. And tomorrow, if I am still up, okay, or even I might go live reading this story, okay, to KJ because he said he don't mind listening to the story. And he also likes the sound of my voice, y'all, because he can fall asleep with me just talking. He loves the sound of my voice. Like he's still a baby. He just likes to put his head up against my chest. Okay, even though he's a 4-year-old spoiled brat, okay? But I have a really good baby, okay? All right, I love y'all. Okay. Bye. Bye. Good night, everybody. Good night, everyone. Bye bye.